3,800 meters beneath the surface of the North Atlantic, in permanent, freezing darkness, lies the most famous shipwreck in history, the Titanic. You already know how it got there, but what you probably don't know is what it actually looks like down there right now. Because it is not the ship from the films, sitting proud on the sea floor. It is something stranger, sadder, and far more fragile. It is a ruin being slowly devoured by the deep, and within our lifetimes it may disappear completely. Today we descend 2.5 miles into the dark to see what is really left of the Titanic. To reach it, you sink for over 2 hours. Past the sunlight, past the last warmth, down through almost 4 kilometers of black water, until your lights finally catch something on the bottom that should not be there. A wall of steel rising out of the gloom. The Titanic did not sink in one piece. As it went down, it tore apart. Today, the wreck lies in 2 main sections, the bow and the stern, separated by about 600 meters of sea floor, with a vast scattered debris field in between. And those 2 halves could not look more different. The bow, the front of the ship, is the part everyone recognizes. Astonishingly, it is still largely intact. It drove into the soft mud nose first and settled, and from the right angle, even now, it still looks unmistakably like a ship. The railing where passengers once stood, the great anchors, the outline of the deck. This is the image you have seen, the ghostly prow emerging from the dark. It is the part of the wreck that still holds its shape and its dignity. The stern is a different story. The back of the ship was still full of trapped air when it sank, and as it plunged, the pressure crushed and tore it apart violently. When it finally hit the bottom, it was already destroyed. Today, the stern is a chaotic, almost unrecognizable field of mangled metal, decks pancaked on top of each other, machinery flung outward. If the bow shows you the ship that was, the stern shows you the violence of how it died. And between them, scattered across the sea floor, is the debris field. And this is the part that stays with people. When the Titanic broke apart, everything inside spilled out across the bottom, plates and bottles still stacked or standing upright in the mud, chandeliers, bathtubs, children's toys, and, here and there, pairs of shoes, leather boots resting side by side in the sediment. The bodies are long gone, dissolved by the deep, but the leather of their shoes survived. Each pair marks quietly where a person came to rest. The debris field is not wreckage, it is a graveyard. Now look closer at the steel itself, because the Titanic is not simply rusting, it is being eaten. The entire wreck is draped in strange, drooping formations that look like orange-brown icicles. They are called rusticles, and they are alive. Colonies of bacteria that feed on the iron of the ship, slowly consuming it and turning solid steel into something with the texture of wet paper. Touch one, and it can dissolve into a cloud of dust. The Titanic is being digested, atom by atom, by the smallest creatures in the ocean. And they are not slowing down. Because the most important thing to understand about the Titanic today is that it is vanishing. Every expedition that returns finds more of it gone. The crow's nest, from which a lookout first spotted the iceberg, has completely disappeared. The officers' quarters are collapsing. The famous grand staircase, the centerpiece of the ship, is simply gone. An empty shaft where ornate wood once stood. Scientists estimate that at the current rate, major sections of the hull could collapse entirely within the coming decades. The ship that took 3 years to build and 2.5 hours to sink is being erased by the ocean far faster than anyone expected. Reaching it to study any of this is brutally difficult. At that depth, the pressure is around 370 times what we feel at the surface, enough to implode almost anything not built to survive it. Only a handful of crewed submersibles have ever made the journey, and it has never been routine. In 2023, an attempt to visit the wreck ended in tragedy, with the loss of everyone aboard the vessel. A stark and sobering reminder of just how hostile and unforgiving this part of the ocean truly is. The Titanic does not give up its secrets easily, but in 2023, something remarkable also happened. Using underwater robots, a team captured hundreds of thousands of images of the entire wreck and stitched them together into the first full, photorealistic, three-dimensional scan of the Titanic, a perfect digital twin. For the first time, the whole ship could be seen at once, lifted out of the darkness and laid bare in complete detail, revealing things never noticed before. It may be the most important thing we ever do down there, because that scan might end up being the closest thing to a permanent record we have. That is the quiet truth of the Titanic. It is not a monument frozen in time. It is a fading one, a ruin in the dark, wrapped in living rust, slowly folding in on itself, returning to the ocean that took it. The most famous ship in the world is becoming a stain on the sea floor, and one day, perhaps within your lifetime, there may be nothing left of it but a scan, a scatter of shoes, and the story. If you want to keep descending with us into the deep, subscribe, and we will see you on the next dive.